It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. The good brothers are back. And guess what we're going to talk about tonight? Championships. Because championships belt come in all different sizes, shapes, and variations,
Mm-hmm.
as you can see behind me and behind the super producer. But what makes it more honorable? What makes it more prestige? What makes it more appealing? Is it being silver or gold, dual plated? Hmm. Let's discuss tonight. Let's get to it. There we go. Welcome to the Wrestling Realm Presents Season 2 of Championship Culture. I'm
Mm-hmm.
Brandon the Guy, and guess who's with me today? H to the A to the S to the T to
That's
the
right.
H to the E, 3 to the R to the D. We got Hash the Third in the building tonight.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
before we get to the day's content, don't forget we got to remind you of a couple quick things. And yes, Justin, it must be Tuesday because I got to remind you. Did you know that you can watch all of the Wrestling Realm content anytime just by going over to youtube.com/the Wrestling Realm? And when you go there, you'll see a whole playlist for championship culture where you can catch up on all things wrestling belts, which includes our 25 episodes from season 1 and a bonus episode. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms, which include Threads, X, and Facebook, just by going to at Wrestling Realm. And if you go to Championship Culture underscore on Instagram, you can follow the guys of Championship Culture. Trust me, you follow us, we will follow back. While you're doing all that, don't forget to like and subscribe and engage in the conversation. Now, you can download all of our audio content at any time just by going to Anchor, Stitcher, Podbeam, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. You can watch us on our Twitch channel just by going to at the Wrestling Realm. Now, it might be 100 degrees outside here in Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
or feeling like it's about 110.
Mm-hmm.
But let the guys over here at the Wrestling Realm save you some money. How you want to save us some money in this heat? We got a deal for you. If you're looking to purchase tickets for anything like a concert, live shows, sporting events, even wrestling's coming to town soon, go over to SeatGeek.com and put in the promo code Wrestling Realm. We're going to save you $20 on any purchase of $50 or more. Once again, go over to to SeatGeek.com, use promo code at checkout Wrestling Realm, and it's going to save you $20 on any tickets of $50 or more. And trust me, you will not have a problem spending $50 on any tickets that you're buying for any of these events. So, with all that being said, welcome back, brother. Here,
Hey,
Get the-
what's going on?
the super producer's here. So, how you feeling tonight, sir?
I'm cool. I'm always good. It feels good to be back on screen.
Oh, that's
Back-
good. Back on the scene. Let me stop. Oh,
Get
Wait, not gonna
goosebumps.
bust. Are you getting goosebumps? Why are you getting goosebumps tonight, sir?
That's right, baby. Look at that. The final boss.
Well, I think I know why you're getting goosebumps because the title of today's show is Silver and Gold, right?
Silver and gold. Silver and gold. Good.
I'm going to try to keep my composure, but tonight's title is Silver and Gold, right?
Yeah.
And as a wrestling fan, we know when it comes to championships, gold is probably the default look, but there has been some that have been silver.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One company, when it began, let me talk about this, right? In 2002, wrestling fans were treated to a alternative, right,
Yes, they
of
were.
wrestling. We were treated to an alternative called Ring of Honor. And it was established and brought us some unique championships. And this is an era where the big gold was around. We were used to seeing the big gold. We were used to seeing the big eagle. We were introduced to the undisputed title. There's been 10 pounds of gold, hence gold in its name, right?
Hmm.
And we were used to seeing just gold belts. But here we
Right.
got this new upcoming company, we got this whole new thing coming, Ring of Honor, right? And
That's
just
right.
as a fun fact, the first logo was, the person who created it is credited by being a current WWE star, right? But the first logo, let's look at this first logo, right? In this first logo, this is what we were introduced to, right? So with this first logo, brought on a different feeling for wrestling. Different feeling for wrestling because not only within the first 2 years the logo changed over, right?
Yep.
And when the logo changed, this became a era for almost like a different style of wrestling, a new style of wrestling, and it gave us a different style of belt. Now we can sit here and argue all day about what this belt looks like, what mold it's from, because all I'm gonna do is let's just rest on the side plates for a second, right?
Hmm.
If any wrestling fan knows, this is reminiscent of the Intercontinental Championship. The mold of the Intercontinental title, was always used in a lot of wrestling promotions as like the mold for their type of belt. But when ROH introduced their world title, one thing that a lot of people noticed is that it was completely silver, right?
Yep.
And we're going to call this era the establishment era, right? Because we had a lot of belt designs trying to establish what made them different. And at first look, first question for you here, did this establish a different wrestling company or did it establish a different style of wrestling?
It was at the time. It was kind of like it did establish a new style, or let's say an evolution of a past style, because I believe at that time ECW was gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of a mixture of sports entertainment, but more ECW type vibes. So you were still getting that ECW hardcore wrestling type of feel, but you get that mixture of sports entertainment too, that WWE, your WCWs. You're getting that type of mixture now. But with that particular title, it was great to see that title, especially in silver, because like you said, you alluded to earlier, every other brand, every other promotion had gold.
Mm-hmm.
Gold was always, if you let's think about it. Gold always seems to be more prestigious. If you just think about it from the context of like just buying jewelry. When you think of jewelry, the first thing you think about is gold. 9 times out of 10, the first thing that person thinks about is gold, not silver, not anything else. Gold just comes across as more prestigious and it's better quality, and it just means more. It has more value to it. So for them to bring that out and have you just to differentiate themselves from everybody else, it was great for them at that time.
So with this being the establishment era, right? Because
Yep.
this is when ROH was in its beginning stages, right? We
Yeah.
had names like a Low Key being the first champion, right?
Oh, he was
Low
crazy.
Key, he was doing things on the indie scene that people dare not do, right?
That man was
Low
wild,
Key,
bro.
he believed in wrestling. We're gonna just
Oh
leave
my
it at that, right?
gosh. Yes.
But we had wrestlers like a CM Punk, Brian Danielson, Homicide,
Hmm.
Jamie Noble, Nigel McGuinness, Jerry Lynn, not to mention Samoa Joe having a 645-day reign with a title, which
Hmm.
was unheard of during this time frame, right? We
Right. Right.
had undefeated streaks that we were used to. We were used to, so many other records being broken and things like that. But it put eyes on the product because when you talk about these people now, you can't not talk about their time at ROH. People
That's true.
often always go back to CM Punk's time at ROH. We can sit here and talk about how great he was on the microphone, something different. Everything about it was look at this championship. On a smaller frame guy like this, it looked like it was a big deal. The
Hmm.
letter stood out, the banner around it, even on the microphone when they put the black with the red around it, because on the pure title they changed the logo a little bit. But this
They
belt
did. They
became
did.
synonymous with establishing these people. This belt, I hate to say it, established Samoa Joe. It helped establish all the work that Daniel Brian Danielson was doing on the indie scene. It culminated to this. And yeah, he was pure champion, but a lot of people was like, yep, he can hold the company, he can hold that title, he could do the things that was needed for ROH to establish itself and to get eyes on the product. Pre
Mhm.
TV days, just going around selling stuff because if you think about it, when how do we say this? I'm trying to say it without sounding crazy. He was beating people that were established on the indie scene, but he was still having those good matches because even in a loss to Homicide, Homicide was an indie darling as well. He was
It
doing
was.
things in every promotion. This is right at the beginning before he went to TNA, and became a tag team specialist. So let's ask this: well, those wrestlers, those names that we gave, was this enough to establish this brand?
Well, you got to think too. At the time, those guys were just making their names too. You wouldn't really think about this brand yet until those guys will go on to bigger and better things, and then you can look back and be like, oh, these guys made this. This is what they did before. This is how they got to where they are now. But I would say, yeah, for the most part, at that time, those are their top guys. So I mean, they had to ride with them, and they paved the way. Like Dwayne always says, CM Punk, your Brian Danielsons, they paved the way for the smaller guys and your indie darlings to come down the line.
So even with that being said, you're talking about we use that term indie darling a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was this enough? Because like even with a Samoa Joe's title reign, Austin Aries, I left him off the list, but I'm just saying like reasons. Nigel McGuinness, right?
Yep.
People keep referencing back Nigel McGuinness time in ROH, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was this a good thing that it was this title? Because you know how people reference, I'm a world champion, right? I
Mm-hmm.
held the 10 pounds of gold because of that lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Did this help build the lineage during this time?
I would
Or
say
did this
yes.
establish it?
I
Okay.
would say yes. I mean, if you just look at the title, first of all, it brought more eyes to that title, and like we alluded to earlier, it was a different look for a world championship title. The silver look, the mirror backing, it's simple, but it's a classic look. So I mean, yeah, it was good at that time, yeah. With
But
those
was
potential wrestlers
this
coming up at the time. Go ahead.
but was this enough to make them world champion status?
Not right off bat because
Okay.
that was an alternative that just started. If you understand what I'm saying, I see if they were established a little bit earlier,
Mhm.
and then they could flow into it. But at that time, it was 2002. They were just starting, so of course you need a little bit more time. I would say give it maybe like 4 or 5 years, to really make or break whether or not that's the prestigious looking title or prestigious lineage that's going to be held by these particular wrestlers.
Because even what Justin said, gold is always associated with the first place and being number one.
Absolutely,
Didn't think about it in that sense, right?
the
So they had to
Olympics.
fight a
Yep.
little bit more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then look, your spirit animal was here. The other,
Yeah.
the other
The,
Cade.
the Canaanite, fellow Canaanite. Speaking of my king, where's my king?
Oh, we'll wait till they come in the chat. What's going on, man? I'm good for you to join us. Last question before we move on, because remember, this is the establishing era, right?
Yep.
So we had this belt, but I think, me personally, sorry about the background noise, we had some other belts during this time, which I think
That sounds good. You heard that? The
Yeah.
snaps. Yeah.
the snap head. We had the tag belt, same exact mold, a little bit more razzle dazzle in the center. And when I said the floral pattern changed a little bit, the ROH logo was the black on top with the red behind it,
I like
which we
that
saw
one better.
that, it stood out a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
But the Pure Championship, which I think was the most boring design of all of them, and I'm going to just say boring because it just had somebody grappling. And I've shared my thoughts on the Pure. First off, don't give me a match that I got to understand the rules because I'm not going to want to watch it. But
Yeah, I should have put that graphic in here with all the rules on it.
But the side plate was a little different because of the different pattern on it, and it just said ROH, and in the middle of this one just said Pure. And the crazy part is it had the name at the top and it said Wrestling Champion. So Pure Wrestling Champion. Simple and to the point. My
Mhm,
question to you and to everybody in the comments: did this hurt or help the company that all their belts were cookie cutters of themselves?
Hey, that's a good question. I would think. See, I always try to think of it differently, but I would say after a while, it'll probably hurt it because you know you have confusion. Say if you have just the casual wrestling fan, they come in and they see, look, oh, they see this title, and then they see that it's the same exact image as splitting image as your world title. So okay, well, what's the point in having this title then? Like, it's the same thing. You just changed it. You just changed the logo. So it's like if you look at it from that aspect, I guess it's probably bad for them or bad for business, as we would say on the flagship. But like I said, it was just something different from them. Um, you also got to think maybe they didn't have enough money, or maybe they didn't have the right connections at the time to have somebody to go and do a different design. So they just went with the cookie cutter, boom, boom. You know, throw a
This is what
different
works.
logo on there. Right, it's going to work for us. We're going to make it work for right now until we build ourselves a little bit more. But right then, I would say right then and there, it probably hurt them a little bit as far as design.
So now think about it. We went from the established brand
Yeah.
2002, 2004. We're
Hmm.
going all the way through 5, 6, 7. We get to 2010, right? And
Right.
ROH at this point is the third largest wrestling promotion behind WWE being number one, TNA being number two,
Yeah.
and now ROH is these three different companies, three distinct companies. You know, you got WWE doing the entertainment, TNA trying to show why they belong, and ROH is saying, we're here for the wrestling, right?
Yeah.
And it was during this time, you know, we had a logo change, massive change with the belts, you know, we had all these different things, right?
Hmm.
And now we kind of got rid of the silver, but not so much. We started a dual plating. So for those out there, when you talk about dual plating, it usually has gold and silver in the mix. It's usually certain parts of it. Like the perfect example is the AEW World Championship is dual plated. It has a
Yes.
gold floor pattern on the basis of a silver plate.
Yep.
So now we get introduced to, you know, we're gonna call this the indie darling era because this is where a lot of these terms start happening, right?
Yep.
So this is one of my favorite designs, probably number two. Not my favorite, but my second favorite for this championship. And it was people like Tyler Black, Roderick Strong, Eddie Edwards, Davey Richards, Kevin Steen / Kevin Owens. Um, they made this belt noticeable, right?
Right.
Their
Right. Right.
matches, their feuds, the stories were all there. And this is during the time when we were hardcore, diehard
Yes, sir.
ROH fans, right?
Every
So
other
in that-
Saturday,
At the Deep Birds Arena, right? We
5,
down
6,
there
7 hours a day.
living our best life, right?
Right.
And I know you got one.
Yes,
I
sir.
got one, right?
Yes,
We
sir.
both got the I'm gonna just call this the Kevin Steen belt. And I know
Right.
Dwayne knows it's gonna be. It is not. It's somebody else's, right?
Yep.
So noticeably different. Logo. Big old eagle. World
Mm-hmm.
champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dual plated. So on this notion, they said, all right, silver might be something dated. Let's give them a little bit of silver and a lot more gold, right?
Absolutely.
When you break down this belt now, we're doing a traditional thing where we have different flags for different countries representing the world title. You know, on the side plates, it kind of looks like almost crest or like coats of arms now. It's dual plated in the middle of it, a braided strap, similar to what the 10 pounds of gold have. You know, some pictures you'll see it was braided. If you look at any time Roderick Strong had it, you could clearly see it was braided. Sometimes you couldn't really tell. Some makers will make it without the braided strap. I personally wanted to make sure I had that one because I remember the Roderick Strong during this time with it, right?
Yeah.
But at this time, oh, there we go. I'm going to address what Justin said. They stepped their game up big time with that one. And that brings me to it.
It's a pretty
Was
belt.
this? Yes. Uh-oh. It's definitely the Davey Richards title.
Yeah.
Look who's in there.
100%. Yes, sir.
And it's a different shape for the center plate, too. That's what got me. So Justin already stole the thunder, said it was definitely an upgrade. Hugh, was this a massive upgrade that was needed, or was this just a upgrade to keep up with being the third brand? I mean, the third Tia Wrestling Company?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I mean, look at it. It's beautiful. Look at the design of it. You have the big eagle right in the middle. You know what that exemplifies. Like I mean,
America.
it's championship worthy. Like it's everything. That first template was just simple. It was a classic look. It was kind of outdated if you want to say, 2002. That kind of reminded me of something that you would get back in the 80s, to be honest. So I mean, yeah, they needed it. They needed to upgrade. Plus it has the gold. We talked about the gold earlier. First place, like Justin said.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. And you going up against the big gold and who was it Biggie? No, the undisputed title at that time. Like you had to keep up with them.
No, 2010 was
no.
the spinner.
It was
this
the
was
spinner. My bad. You're right. It was the spinner. My fault.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you had to up your game if you're dealing with those titles.
So when you say up your game, this belt was probably around the shortest amount of time, but it feels like it clamors to a memory because of the wrestling. We were there, Realness remember standing there for 4 hours, 6 hours, sometimes 8 hours, not to mention the pre-stuff that we used to do outside.
Right.
And this is the belt that we remember probably as our spark to, people like Kill Steen Kill, right? Him and El Generico having some classic matches. El Generico coming back to be able to want to take the title from him. Whether he was successful or not, I'm going to challenge y'all to go back and watch some El Generico and Kevin Steen. It will not disappoint, right? Mm-hmm. But we also had people that we remember, like let's see if he's ready for it. No, you're not going to put it up there?
No.
Not yet. Okay.
Hold on. Hold on.
Is it up there?
Snap. Where's it at?
No, it's okay. We're going to keep going. But
no, keep it going.
I'll keep going. All right, so we had Kevin Steen, right? Probably one of the standout stars for this. Davey Richards belt. Okay, cool. But when I say it was the shortest amount of time, this design only lasted for 10 to 12, I believe. Because then, it was only about 2 years. But definitely got to address what Man Up said. They needed it to keep up. Yes, 100%. You couldn't compete with a spinner. TNA at the time was having their, we're going to call it the Dwayne belt, and then the Sting belt was debuting, So they had some really good-looking titles. And then the third company will have a silver IC belt to the common person's eye. So now it definitely was an upgrade, right? Now, Dwayne, the Realness said it was too small. I agree and I disagree. Because of the build of the wrestlers, it fit. There we go. The TNA, as Dwayne called it. I'm sorry. He said the TNA Winged Eagle. Or as I call it, the Dwayne belt. That belt is actually the Dwayne belt. Then I call the other one or Sting because that's the ones I remember with the most. But moving on, about 2 years in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can we agree this was a beautiful belt, right? Beautiful design compared to the last one, right? So now we move to Hugh's favorite belt, right? So now we're going to call this we came here to compete. Literally, ROH was the third brand. WWE was doing their thing. Had their heights, their peaks, their valleys. They had Cena, right? Mm-hmm. You had all of this stuff going on there. TNA was doing this other stuff, right? Whether it was good or bad. ROH seemed like they said, nope, we are here to compete. We're going to give you some good wrestling, some storylines that you can kind of sink into because we got a Jay Briscoe, a Adam Cole, baby, Jay Lethal, Kyle O'Reilly, Christopher Daniels, and even before he became Raheem, we had Cody Rhodes, right?
There you go.
Before we got Cody Raheem Rhodes, we got this, right?
Hey, look. He's pointing straight to the culture, bro. He was on his way. Bro, he was on his way to becoming our Deep World Champion. Brother Raheem. So,
the pre-blonde hair, neck tattoo. No neck tattoo, right?
Right, you're right.
So now...
I'm a clown.
You are. So now we have this belt, right? And Hugh has one, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have this belt, which, fun belt fact, was built off the same model of the Triple Crown Championship from the not New Japan, the Triple Crown Championship for I'm drawing a blank, and Ben Walker is probably going to kill me because I can't remember the promotion, but we're going to talk about how good this belt looks, right?
Mm-hmm.
First off, new logo, right?
Yep. Super logo.
Yep, gold with some paint now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we only using the colors of Ring of Honor, black and red. Says Ring of Honor Wrestling, has the world on the side. I'm sorry, I'm trying to show the side plates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Red around it, ribbons to kind of reference to the 10 pounds of gold, main plate representing the Triple Crown Championship. If you ever look at the Triple Crown, you'll see the center plate was kind of ripped from it. The red outline. Now, I customized this one. So don't ever think that you're going to get one like this unless you ask for it. I put the diamonds around my ROH because I always felt like it needed it.
Yeah.
But, I lost one there, so don't mind that. But everything about it had the little the leaves around it. This belt just stood out like it was an important world championship to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to ask you, besides Cody Raheem Rose, who else stood out with this era of the we came here to compete? Who was it?
Well, when I see that belt, first person I think about is, I would say, my guy, Jay Briscoe.
Rest in peace, Jay Briscoe.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. One of the good brothers. Yes. Him.
So,
and then, of course, because I tapped out for a while. And then when I came back, you have guys like Jay Lethal carrying the title, who made it look awesome. Look at that.
now, you can't talk about these two without talking about that rivalry, right?
Right.
Now, I know Realness is going to chime in, right? Because we had a point where the ROH television title felt like that was the most important title, right?
Yeah, at one point,
we had a time where Mark Briscoe was injured, but Jay was still there because they wanted to show at this time we're here to compete. That's what I'm going to call this era, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jay Briscoe and Jay Lethal had some of the best matches
Awesome,
I've ever seen. It showed a tag team wrestler hanging with a singles guy, but establishing himself as a singles competitor. Not to mention, you had Adam Cole saying, I've been an indie darling. Watch what I can do, too. So we had all of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could we be still saying this was the I came to compete era if it had been the other version of the belt?
Oh, that's tough. I think they had to evolve.
Okay.
Yeah, you had to evolve after that era, like we did at WrestleMania or well at that both NXT and the main roster. You named a new person to take over that era, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what better way to show that it's a new era by bringing in some new gold?
Because as the Realtor said, the greatest Ring of Honor championship from the Sinclair broadcasting era. I think this is what more fans clamor to as being their ROH
Absolutely.
championship. This is the ROH championship because this was at the height of Sinclair broadcasting, right?
Yeah.
This was at the height of, like you said, Jay Lethal rise to the world title because he did the work as
he put in all the work
as a television champion. Adam Cole did the work as a television champion.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Briscoe did the work as a
tag team competitor.
Tag team champion. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to take bets. Let's see. Who do you think it is for four sides of the ring? Is it Marcus or Mark?
It's my birthday twin.
It's the founder?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're going to see if it's the founder. What's going on? Every belt has a story. Yeah, wait. Every belt has a wonderful story. I love it. So that's what I'm going to say about that, right? But during the Sinclair broadcasting, right?
Oh,
here in Baltimore, it was
Truth Martini. Oh my gosh, that's a name, boy.
I was going to get to that.
All about Truth Martini, boy. That was the guy back then, man. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Shout out to Truth. And you were right. It is your birthday twin. I don't know if I'm going to know that you got another spirit animal. You should only have one, but we're going to leave it at that. But back to this, because this is fun telling about these times, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you go back to look at ROH, I feel like people will tell you, go to this era. We had Christopher Daniels get, I think this was his first world title run with this belt. Wrestlers like PCO get their first title run with this belt.
Mhm.
We had a how do I say this? You had people getting close to it, but not really to it. We had competitors come, right? We had people show that I came here to compete. That's why I call it the I came to compete era. Not only were they competing with themselves, they were competing with TNA. They
Right.
were trying to get eyes on the product because let's call it what it is. Was WWE the hottest during this time? At
Eh,
times.
eh.
This was a true alternative for a wrestling fan. And if you wanted to see good wrestling, insert a Jay Lethal, insert a Adam Cole, and you had some good matches, right?
Great matches.
Great. So, here, knowing that you love this belt, right?
Hmm.
Who was the greatest champion of this time?
Come on, man. I want to say Jay Lethal because that's probably the truth, but I'm going to say Jay Briscoe for personal reasons
Okay.
because
Talk to him.
that was my guy. I mean, you was there with us. Jay and Mark, some of the coolest guys you can ever meet, and we were tight with them for a long time. They always spoke to us. They always showed us love whenever they saw us. And just growing up and just kind of idolizing those guys, in the tag team division, and then seeing them break off and do their things as singles competitors, like I gotta say, Jay, by default, that was my guy.
And if you realize something, this was during a time when we got to see a lot of these wrestlers from New
Absolutely.
Japan come over to ROH at first. And that partnership was so strong and it was unique because it introduced us to people like Switchblade. It introduced us to people like a Will Ospreay early on.
Yeah.
These are the type of things that they were doing. Not to mention you know what? We're gonna get into another show. Let's save that. Realness season 3 is coming.
He's waiting.
Yeah, I think you just booked it. I think you just
Uh-huh.
booked the show.
Uh-huh.
And truth be told, I'm gonna agree with him. I think AJ should have won this version of the title. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah.
And then your birthday twin said, which version that Homicide had? He's was one of my favorite champs of ROH. He actually had the original
I
version,
was about to say the first one. Yeah.
the silver one. He was doing that era when it was we're gonna call that the establishment era. He was around for
Same
that
thing
one.
with AJ too, right?
Yeah, AJ was doing the establishment era. He held it
Yeah.
for a short amount of time. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah.
There's after he left, was that after he left TNA or was he was in TNA at the time, right? I might
He was-
have to
In TNA, I believe.
realness or fact check
I'm
us,
about to
but
say, brother Realness will tell us. That's his guy.
Mhm.
So
yes. Because of course we're not gonna get into this because if we start talking about Shinsuke Nakamura, that's the only one name I can do to say because can't nobody say the names like realness. If you want to hear Japanese wrestlers' name pronounced, please tune into the Wrestling Around Now podcast on Wednesdays at 10:30 p.m. where you can hear the realness pronounced anyway. All you do is go in the comments and say realness, say this name. He will stop the show and pronounce the name for you because he does it just as good as the announcers do.
Yep.
All right, back to our regular scheduled program because this is getting good, right?
Mhm.
So we talked about this beautiful belt, right?
Yes, we did.
And we're almost to the point where ROH is almost at its like peak. And once you hit that peak, it's like, what do you do next? This is when we start to see the birth of NXT, Black and Gold NXT. We start to see wrestlers move on to other things. We start to see people go back to the Indies, people go back to TNA, people go to New Japan. A lot of things start, intertwining and intermixing, right? So now it kind of feels like we went from establishing, right,
Mhm.
with the silver. We went from establishing indie darlings. We came to compete, and now I'm gonna call this bigger and golder, right? So bigger. better,
Hey,
stronger.
I was about to break out.
So we went bigger and golder, right? So not only she is, we went bigger and golder, and this is where I'm gonna call these guys the ROH stars, right? Because ROH was faced with a time where a lot of their talent was getting poached around this time, and I don't want to say poached because it sounds like we're saying that come over here. It was so many opportunities for wrestlers to go other places. NXT was thriving; they were taking a lot of the people that now they have a bigger platform to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Cole had left. This is where AEW was starting to catch some steam. All this stuff was happening, but ROH was still hanging in there, right? And this is right before the pandemic, right? So we had different brand of new stars, right? We had people like Dalton Castle, who was always climbing towards the top. Gimmick was over the top, very entertaining, right? One of the first people to hold this belt, right? Looked like, first off, if you weren't entertained with Dalton Castle, I don't know what you were watching, right? Always entertaining, right?
This is the guy that brought me back to ROH because I took another hiatus, and when I saw him with the title, like I was like, oh my gosh, he is so entertaining. His character was just on point. He made that title for me at that time. So yeah, I was 100% invested when I saw him.
And it was, look how that looks. So let's just rest on that before we go on to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look how that title looks on him. Would anybody even question that that's not the world champion? We're going to get to that comment because you'll see why we're laughing. Would anybody have a question that that's the champion? Not at all. Right. So now you had people like him. You had people like Matt Taven, who we had seen MTV from the early days, right?
Right.
The Burns Arena. We saw MTV, right? And this was a guy that stuck around for the long haul when it came to ROH. And you're talking about somebody paying their dues. Matt Taven is one of those wrestlers that was there, a lifeblood, a lifeline, whatever you want to call him. We saw this man go from indie to indie, putting the work in, getting it done. And then when he won this title, he made it his own because at one point it had a purple strap. If anybody know anything about Matt Taven, purple was his thing.
Yep.
Funny story, when I met him, and he said that if you ever watch his career, when he wore purple and white, he's the face. When he puts on gray, he's changing to a heel, and then he put on black. You knew he was the purple and black was the heel. If he had gray, that means his character was changing. Somebody to sit there and explain that and put that much thought into that character, I gained more respect for him because
I never noticed that.
Yeah, we saw little things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you also had people like Rush, who from the other like CMLL and did he wrestle with CMLL? I think he was with CMLL. Yeah, come over and do things and establish himself there, which is always hard to do because you can be a bigger mega star in another promotion, but not to this audience, right? Established himself. PCO, like I'm talking about, had his first run. And then we had a Bandito who from the jump was just like, oh my God, this guy's awesome. Why haven't we been seeing him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
he said,
when this happened, right?
Realness. I was laughing at realness.
I'm gonna just keep it up here, right? Because we had the Dusty Rhodes / William Regal effect taking place, right? So they had to establish who a ROH star was, right? All their indie darlings was gone. All the people was there to compete, right?
Yeah.
And William Regal definitely was he was seen on camera at different things, being at different events, giving contracts out, whether it was storyline or not, they made it part of the story that William Regal was looking for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to Dwayne's comment, yes, if you go watch anything with Dalton Castle, you'll understand why he's calling him Prince Peacock, right? And we will not call Matt Taven Paulie Shore. We're going to stop that, okay? Sometimes I think that insert this name should have went over on Matt Taven in the ladder match of the G1 Supercard. You stop it. We're not gonna address that. The right man won. The right man won.
You sure?
Look at here. We're gonna keep listen, fellas.
Yeah,
what it do? What's going on? Mike from Mouth and Off with Mike Wrestling Podcast.
Chest hairs in the building. Chest hair in the building.
Yes, in the slick bag. I wanted to say this. Forget about it. If he puts that in the comments, I'm gonna mark out. But back to this, right?
Yeah.
So if you read about what happened with these belts, it was a lot of things that happened, right? Mm-hmm. But this was part of a wave of all new belts, right?
Mm-hmm.
All new belts, all bigger, all golder, except for that 6-man belt. That 6-man belt was like they just forgot. That was the ugly duckling of the belts, right? We ain't gonna talk about that, right?
Kind of like the IC title in WWE. My bad. I'm just different promotion. Go ahead, keep on.
But if you go back and watch an episode where the realness was on, where looks can be deceiving, you'll see what I'm hitting at. That all of these belts look like they should have been the world champion, except for that 6-man belt. Because the tag team, the television title, they all look like they were world champion, right?
Mhm.
There he is. He said it. He did the thing.
Yeah, I saw
Why
it.
not read that in his voice? He did the thing. Oh, wait a minute. I'm just gonna put this on the screen and let the people read it because we're gonna get
Yes,
back to
sir.
this. This belt is heavy. How does Stephanie Hardy do this for a whole show? And I'm struggling just holding it like this. But hopefully y'all got to
bro.
read.
She's different, bro.
She's definitely built different. I'm gonna give her
Yeah.
credit every time I got a hold of a belt, and she did it for almost
The
2
whole show.
hours.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. The chest hair is waiting for you. That was a message for you, Hugh.
Mm-hmm.
So, first question to you and everybody in the comments: when we went to this belt, did it work for this promotion? Did it work? That's what I'm asking. Everybody in the chat, let me know. Did this belt work for you with the ROH that we were getting on TV? What was left, who was there? Hugh, did this belt work for you as an ROH championship?
Just off of looks, yes. It screams, look, I'm the champion, I'm the top dog. Come and get this title. Come and get it. Look at it. It's literally their version of the big gold. That's what it looks like. That's what it reminds me of.
Okay. And the red stones on the side.
Hey, I was waiting for you to point that out.
Okay. The crown on the top, which we have seen that's synonymous with a lot of different belts.
Mhm.
The ROH in the center, now the silver to draw your eyes to it. If you notice, it's kind of like a globe behind the ROH. As he like to say, I like to put one big stone. But if you notice in the middle of it, one big stone and then
Chilling.
several smaller stones around it. There is a spot right here for a nameplate. Sorry, I'm trying to show you. So a lot of people did have the nameplate on it. I think it looks fine without a nameplate. And if the base of it, look, one big stone. You see that here?
Mm-hmm. I see it.
Okay. Side plates. 2 different side plates, which was unique for this belt because this right here could be any center plate for anything, and it actually just looks cool. This was actually almost a throwback to the previous belt, how the side plates look on the one prior to it.
Mhm.
So they kind of like upgraded that. They did a little different, kept the red stones around it. Same thing on this side, just a different part of the world. Everything about it kind of gives you that New Japan IWGP feeling on this one, but still has a throwback to the other one.
Yeah, my only beef with it was, yeah, you definitely showed that right there. The tip.
Full tip.
Full.
Now, this one actually came from Figure. Is this Figure? This is an official license one from Figures Toy Company when they were selling them. So this is a official replica, which, hint, hint, what happened to it. But now that we've had people a chance to talk about it, Realness says no. He does not.
He's not a fan of it.
We know he's not a fan of it. Because he was a fan of the previous one, right?
Yes, sir. That's the top dog for him.
This was the time when RH was at its lowest. They had to come back, swing, and do something to try to attend. That's why I said they were at their peak, and then once you're at your peak, you're either going to keep pushing through, or you're going to fall. And they did fall really hard. They fell hard, and the pandemic did nothing but made them fall even harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Justice says, "I like big belts, and I cannot lie. I will." Why not read that out loud?
And the sir makes a loud voice.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate you.
I'm singing that from now on.
This version is not appealing to me. Why not, man? What do people not like about this belt? Let's sit on this for a minute. I'll talk about why it screams to me world champion. Let's hear why you don't like it. I really want to know why you don't like it. I don't think this version got enough time. I think it should be the current. So I'm going to get to that because Bandito was the last one technically to hold this, and he got it in July of that year. And then when it was time for him to defend it, he had COVID. So they stripped him of the title.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham were fighting for the belt. And I do believe because this probably was in Bandito's possession, that's why the other belt resurfaced. The original, right?
The old school, yep.
Yep. And before we get to that, Mike from Mouthing Off Mike said the decline was happening, and as gorgeous as that belt was, it couldn't be stopped. So Realness says he doesn't like it because it's overkill. But see, I like it because I feel like it just screams, look at me. Look at me. The side, I'm going to say it again and again, the side plates look like they could be any main plate on a belt. Like if you really look at these side plates, and maybe that's what's so overkill. Could you see this? Take the black away, maybe put a globe behind it or something. This could be a actual
That's possible.
nameplate.
Yeah, that's possible. I can see it.
Even this one. This could be take the globe away and put something else, or put a logo on top of it and actually put a globe. Like if you look at the details around it, it has the row pattern around it. It has the jewels red and clear. Same thing here was just red and the clear at the top. Everything about it just screams so many details. And I get it where Realtor says it was overkill because it is a lot to take in. Almost as bad as I can't get to it. I'll show you the tag team belt I want to get to, but it's up here. But if you go back and watch, looks can be deceiving. You can see what I'm talking about that belt, right?
Yeah.
So it reminds me of the 2003 WWE Championship. Are you talking about the Undisputed Belt? Justin, are you talking about the Undisputed Championship? He said the 2003 WWE Championship. That was Undisputed Belt.
Is he talking about as far as the shape of it? Or what?
Yeah, give us a little bit more details because I want to make sure we are addressing your comment correctly.
Because it's a big belt. It's a big body belt, just like that one. I mean,
so now this is what I was hitting at. Bandito, last champion with this, right? If you just follow how wrestling happens, he got sick, he had COVID. You know, we were in a pandemic. Everything was trying to come back. Slowly but surely, things were coming back. And I might be wrong with my timeline. This is right when the last show was happening because they were having the last show. Bandito couldn't make it. Yeah. Jonathan Gresham versus Jay Lethal for the title because it was supposed to be Jonathan Gresham versus Bandito. So they made it for the ROH Championship, but they went back to that silver and gold thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We saw what happened. Jonathan Gresham had it. He was the Premier Champion. He was going around trying to be a flag bearer for ROH, but something just wasn't connected, right? So then we have Tony Khan purchase it. And as Tony Khan do, with Tony Khan things, he introduces new belts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not before we get Cesaro takes the belt off Gresham, right? So now we're just going to call this the Tony Khan era because let's call it what it is. The belt should have never came back in the first place, the silver one, right? Sorry, I know that's loud. But then he gives us this belt, and I do have a red backing on this because So we went back to a classic logo almost, but down it says ROH to the top, the Tony Khan logo. Says World Champion, sunburst pattern at the top, sunburst pattern at the bottom. Clear stones on a silver belt, went back to silver. Side plates have actual wrestlers doing different grappling moves, you know, circular, kind of like a callback to it in a simple way. Yeah. But he did the exact, like, I think he paid tribute to the past, but he didn't do like Triple H did with the World Heavyweight title. And I'm going to just say this before I let you go here. When Triple H reintroduced the World Heavyweight Championship, it's a remembrance or dedication to the past with a modern feel. Mm-hmm. This, I feel like he said, okay, let me go back to the tradition without giving it a modern feel. Because when you look at this, the Pure Champion and the Tag Team Champions, now, of course, they've changed the 6-man belt. But you look at these, you're like, they all look the same. If you put all three of these men who will hold these three titles together, you're like, all right, so outside of the television championship look different. But those three were exactly the same. Why do you think we went back to this original style or original thought pattern of these belts?
Like you said, I think it was just a callback to the traditional look. I don't particularly like it because, like I said, the original was just too plain, too classic. It was outdated to me. But hold it up again for me real quick, please.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to give it a modern feel. It's like a combination of, I would say, the sunburst pattern. That's the Winged Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
The Winged Eagle, and then it had the classic ROH look to it. But I don't really know where he was going with it. I'm just assuming that he was just going back in the day with it, just a traditional, you know, reach back, pay homage to what ROH was back in the day in 2002 when it started.
Because if you look over my shoulder, you see how the Pure title has this Pure written on it, like the
Yeah,
original.
it's almost a cookie cutter carbon copy of it. Yeah.
And I'm trying to see if you can see I don't know if you can see, but you can see the bottom of it above
Mm-hmm.
me for the
Mm-hmm.
tag. Same scenario, right?
Yeah. It to me it looks more like a mid card title.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was getting to.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't have that prestigious look. I hate to keep using the word prestigious, but you know what I mean when I say it. Like it just don't. It doesn't scream at you.
It's like, hey, I'm the champion. And with somebody of the stature of Cesaro, a taller guy with a smaller frame, when he put this on, it looked like it was like a tag team belt. It didn't look like he was the world champion. Him standing next to Will Yuta, I'm like, all right, so who's the world champion?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, even when, it wasn't Adam Cole and MJF the tag team champions. They were the ROH tag team champions.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, but that's your world champion with a tag team belt. It looks like a tag team belt. So what's the purpose of the other one? When you can't distinguish which one is the higher tier belt, not necessarily the more important champion, because we've seen in wrestling history where the second title could become more important than the primary title. Right. We've seen with the tag team belts could sometimes overtake the secondary title, and you want to see the tag team belts more than anything else, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So with this, we saw a kind of a redo, a reshape, because something happened, and we were there that night it happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania weekend. One of the shows I was determined to go to, and I think he was in agreement with, was to go see, this man, right? Let's show what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. Oh. Man, nobody said his name. My bad. Nobody said his name.
So we were there the night that he won the ROH championship, right? The ROH world title. Mm-hmm. And Mark Briscoe wrestled a heck of a match. I got to give him credit. Him and Eddie Kingston put on something because you knew what Mark could do. You knew what Mark was capable of. Yeah, he got bloody, but it was perfect, right? And then Tony Khan has a way of just like sneaking belts when he changes them. Just, hey, now carry this now. And then it's like, you got to figure it out. So his belt actually has a black and white like strap to it, but it's still the same size, right?
Yeah.
Has this lost its prestige, or because let's just call it what it is? ROH is not like a major brand right now, and it's kind of like a hold this trinket, hold this toy. It's really not doing anything. But
indeed.
So has the title lost its prestige?
Absolutely. Yes, man. I think I don't know. I think it's after like the whole purchase and rebranding of ROH, it's not really jumping yet. Who knows? It might pick up a little bit down the line. I'm giving them credit. I'm hoping for it. Maybe it'll pick up some steam down the line, but nah. Since it ended, and when was it? 2019. 2019.
Yeah,
Final Battle. Yeah.
No, it was after that because we went to Final Battle. It had to be 21. It was 21.
Yeah, it was 21. It was 21.
Because we were wearing masks.
Once it ended, it was just kind of like, all right, okay. And then he picked it up and whatnot, and it really hasn't really done anything since then for me, to be honest.
So Justin makes a good point, right? Did you see this comment? It says that would look good as a mid-card title, but not as a world title.
It does.
It definitely, and like the point is, when you saw the Blackpool Combat Club holding the world title and the Pure title, you had to guess like, all right, which one is more important? Because neither one were positioned higher than the other, and neither one looked different. They looked like they held the same belt. And that's why I couldn't get past the first set of them, right? And of course, Dwayne, if you don't know, Mark Briscoe actually goes by Chicken. If you ever went to a show in Delaware, they would chat Chicken. Any fans that know Mark Briscoe would chat Chicken. And he was referencing something that we're going to just keep on going.
But Kung Fu Chicken, baby.
Kung Fu Chicken. If you entertain.
Yes, sir.
So, and Dwayne actually said it has. It has definitely so.
Drastically.
I'm going to wrap this all together, right? We called this the show Silver and Gold, right? Which kind of seems like it might be a series because there's other belts that have silver, which I think didn't lose their oomph. But I think once Silver established it, but then when you went back to silver, it lost it.
It lost its flair.
So I'm gonna ask you this: if this belt was gold, will we be having the same conversation?
That same exact belt?
Yeah, let's imagine this belt in gold.
It doesn't matter what color it is or what type of metal it is. Just the design of it, it doesn't look like a world championship belt. It looks like a mid card, like a European title. And that's that's so-called secondary mid card.
Or like the cruiserweight belt with these sunburst patterns around them. You know, one of the realness' favorite belts, right?
Oh, you're right. WCW cruiserweight, yeah.
And the Bruce, and I think the clear stones don't help it either because you can't even tell what stones on here. This is why I probably would get something funky and there's some black stones because some black stones on this probably would. But I don't know how it would translate it on TV or even red stones.
Yeah, I know it was coming. I was waiting for it. He tried to go throw a curveball and say black stones and put some black stones in it. Nah, bro, you was gonna put red stones all over it. Just one big red stone everywhere. Just boom, boom, boom. Side plates.
Can you address Justin's comment?
What do you say?
Can you address Justin's comment? No, go ahead, Hugh. Go ahead, because you were cooking. Go ahead, address his comment.
Press play.
Go ahead. No, we ain't pausing up. We're going to press play.
Press play, man. Press play.
Hey, can you at least address realness? Can you at least address realness comment? You don't want to?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So I gotta say, I didn't know this discussion was gonna be this healthy. But
trip down memory lane for sure. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We're at the point where normally on the show, I start to queue up, right? And usually play a little razzle dazzle for them, right? This is the part of the show where we like to call every belt has a story, right? And it's ironic because I think that you have a story that you might want to share with some folks that we talked about. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me say this. At 57 minutes, we're going to say, everybody has a story.
Yeah.
Here, tell me the story behind your belt. And you can pick either. Actually, you got to talk about them at the same time, don't you?
I do, but I'm going to specifically go with this one because this is the one I had that night. So, me and brother Guy and amongst some other fellas, we went to a final battle, and of course, I didn't have any belts at this time. I'm gonna be honest; I was never a belt guy until I met the guy. To be honest, just throwing it out there. But we went to the show. Everybody else had titles with them and belts and whatnot, carrying them around. And he looked at me. He was just kind of like, "Bro, you don't have a title?" I said, "No, I never really cared to have one." And he was like, "Here." He went into the arena. Came back out the arena, went to his car, got the title, and gave it to me. He was like, "Here, you cannot be the only one walking around without a title." So I walked around with this bad boy the whole night, and I just kept looking at it, and I fell in love with it. Then I gave it back. At the end of the night, of course. And then I'm not sure how long it was. Maybe a couple weeks or so, or maybe was it a couple days? How long was it?
It was like a week or so, but it was crazy because that night, every time somebody wanted to look at the belt or touch it, he was like, "Stop looking at me!" Like he was so like kids was like, "Oh, can I touch it?" He's like,
I would look at Brandon first, like, can you touch it?
I was like, it's fun. Like I don't mind if kids, some people are like, "Oh, can I say, oh, this is heavy." But then when we got to the car for him, because I was leaving after the show was over and everything, he did the, "Yeah, you can have it back." He looked so sad. So. Continue this story because this is good stuff. People might not have heard this story. This is why everybody has a story.
So I guess like a couple of weeks went past, or days or whatever it was. I ended up meeting up with Brandon again. I'm not sure what it was, why we were meeting or whatnot, but he just showed up and was like, "Here." I said, "What are you talking about?" "Here." He handed me the box, and it was 2 belts in there, the 2 ROH belts that I showed earlier. Well, let's say version 3 and 4. Is it 3 and 4? Yeah, 3 and 4. No, 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Yeah, 2 and 3.
Because we're not going to count that random one that was circulating the internet.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was those 2, the Big Eagle, and of course this one, the Jay Lethal belt, aka or / Jay Briscoe belt. But yeah, he handed it to me, and I was just like, "For real? You tripping? How much you want for these, man?" I always ask him like, look, how much you want for this, bro? I know you just not gonna give me a belt because I know how much they cost. And he was like, no, just here. Yeah, you can have it. I said, stop playing with me. No, I'm serious. And he gave it to me, and I was like, bro. I gave him a big hug, and I told him every belt has a story. No, I didn't.
Some might believe that you actually said that, but yeah, it was. And I couldn't get that image out of my head that he was just like.
It was a special moment, bro. It was a special moment.
He
was like, man, you look so sad when you gave it back. I don't remember doing that, but I guess it came across like that, so maybe I did do it. But he was like, man, you look so sad when you gave it back, so I just decided to give it to you. I was like, yes.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that I can't even. So that was everybody has a story. Was that your first championship belt?
Yes, it was.
So you got two for the price of one.
Two for the price of one, and I love them.
It's crazy because y'all always say I don't like certain things. We're like, ain't nothing wrong with this belt. I'll pick out the most random thing. We're like, no, I got it.
Right.
And that one actually has the gems around it because remember I told you I said I put them on there because I felt like it needed it.
It was lacking, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like it looks a lot better with that on it. Now you just shined it up. Did you add different stones?
Yeah.
Why yours look so shiny?
Because I just shined it before the show.
Oh, okay. So
I take care of her.
That was number 1 and 2.
Hey, everybody gonna laugh at me, but I don't care because every belt has a story, and this is my belt. And like I said, I don't care. I still love y'all though, but this is one of the belts that lays in the bed with me. It lays right beside me in bed.
And on that notion, that concludes how every belt has a story because that sounds like some. We can't call it Realm After Dark. We're going to call it Out After Dark. We just going to call it because Mike took the nightcap. That was kind of cool.
CC Uncut.
Just a tip.
Right.
Stick around for just a tip. It comes in later. No nuances of what happens.
Oh boy, this is gonna make the notes.
Yes. Protos said, who cut onions? That's brotherly love right there. It wasn't. The brothers will tell you because the first ROH belt that I had of the bigger and golder, I passed that along because I felt like it was too small. But yeah, sometimes I'll do that when it comes to belts, especially. I've been fortunate enough to be able to come in contact with a lot of belts, and I had to spend a bunch of money. During the pandemic is when I really was, my business was really taking off, and I was like, oh, I'll get this one, get that one. That's why I have so many of the ones that I grew up loving because when it comes to wrestling belts, it always takes you back to that moment. So when me and Hugh started Championship Culture, the tagline I was adamant about being every belt has a story because I remember my very first championship, and the story behind it is always going to be special to me. So I'm like, I wonder does everybody else have these stories? Hence why we say everybody has a story. Can't wait to hear yours. And I'm glad that you got to share that because I don't think you ever shared that on.
Nah.
Cam, have you?
No. You mentioned it. You mentioned it a couple times. We didn't get the full story though. But yeah,
that was a good one. So
this is the first one I saw. I got both of them at the same time, but this is the first one I saw, and this is the first one I actually remember because, like I said, Jay Briscoe, Jay Lethal, when I started watching ROH again. But
and I was so mad when I got that belt, and I told you why. I was mad about it. He was like, it looks fine. I was like,
it looks completely fine.
I was like, So, and the reason some makers will make the belts and everybody's going to find something like, I feel like if this is not on the back of a belt or a different color strap, he's going to be like, oh, that belt is trash. So he likes a lot of different backing. I'm very particular about certain things. Like, I'm mad it took me to a photo shoot to realize, fun fact, my ROH tag belt says Honor of Honor and not Ring of Honor. And I was like, how did you mess that up?
He was so mad, bro.
I was like, wait a minute. Why does it say but? I was so... And I have the belt right here. It's actually another dual-plated, one of my favorite looking tag belts from ROH.
That was one of the pretty ones, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this dang on thing says Honor of Honor on the side plates. So I was just stuck on wow, look how gorgeous this thing is. Look at the oh my God, this is great.
Mhm.
And I was on a photo shoot. I said, why does it say Honor of Honor? I don't even want to show y'all the close up because this belt doesn't have a.
Is that around the same time as the version 2?
Mm-hmm. This was the tag team belt.
You can
during that
tell.
time.
You can definitely tell.
Yep, it definitely was having because the dual plated. I just think this is a beautiful design.
It is.
The flag and look at the eagle on the top and the flags beside it. I just thought this was just a gorgeous looking belt. And it's when I want to say it's my second favorite because when the other version everybody hates that looks like a world title, the tag team one, I just was like, wow, that one is just amazing. Like if you took tag team off of it, it could be anybody's world champion. So needless to say, when I get the courage to get rid of this belt, I don't know who would take a belt that says Honor of Honor instead of Ring of Honor, but be on the lookout for it. It might become part of.
I'm looking in the comments because I know somebody's hand is about to go up. You know who I'm talking about?
With that
612.
She said my favorite too. Oh look, that's Christina Renee Braxton. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Hey,
she said my favorite too. I just made it up. Sorry, Maria. I don't want to say her whole comment. Welcome to the show. She joined us just in time, right? But I'm gonna say this, right? You know this is getting close to the end of season 2, right?
That's what I hear.
Getting close to the end of season 2, right? And as we get close to season 2, because season 1 we gave people a bonus episode, right? Which was so much fun, so much joy. It was called Unboxing Happiness. And if you paid attention to the Rest of Our Now podcast every Wednesday at 10:30 p.m., we dropped hints about, some boxes and we started unboxing some stuff, right? But for the end of season 2, I'm going to just say it's going to be, I'm going to tell you, stay tuned because we're going to have big fun. It's going to be big fun, almost like when Vanessa went to Baltimore. The big fun. Not with the righteous, but we're going to have the big fun. Stay tuned for the end of season 2 because it's going to be big fun. And I heard he was bringing the donuts.
I'm bringing all the donuts.
You going to stop in Delaware?
Yes.
Now, Justin, I'm going to mess with you at your age. You probably don't know this reference. So, Justin, when you finish watching Championship Culture, go over to youtube.com and search Big Fun or search The Cosby Show Big Fun, and you will die laughing at this reference. It's a TV show called The Cosby Show that we grew up on, us 80s babies grew up in the 90s. And, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. But we're going to have big fun, right?
Big fun.
Yeah. I think this is the part where you want to tell them where to find us. Let's just say find us. Championship Culture. Yeah, Championship Culture. We keep finding Championship.
It's right there at the top of the screen, baby.
Oh, it's been there the whole time?
Yeah, the whole time. At Championship Culture _ on IG. And you can also find us at The Wrestling Realm on IG and, well, actually all social media platforms. And you want to carry out with the rest?
Absolutely. Don't forget to tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Because guess what? The next episode will be coming. And like I said, we're getting close to the end of season 2. And I'm telling you, the season finale of season 2 is going to be big fun. But tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Championship Culture. Don't forget on Wednesdays for the Rest of Them Now flagship show of Rest of Them Now, 10:30 p.m. But we'll see you next Tuesday, 8 p.m. And don't forget, every belt has a story. I can't wait to hear yours.
Every belt has a story. Peace.